Hey, good morning. Chillie Falls here with Chillie's Cruises for travel and cruise industry news on this, the 31st day of August in 2019, a morning in which, in the unlikely sense of things, I'm going to have some good news for a change, which is quite surprising. And as of an hour ago, wasn't even on the agenda. A couple things to touch on first. One, I'm not entirely sure if I am live or not. Uh, Checking on my phone now. My normal electronics that I have is on the funnel cake trailer because my tablet I use for credit cards. Yes, I see Bonnie's here, so good. We are live and are on the line, so that's cool. Yes, thanks, Jason. I see that now. Okay, just wanted to make sure. For those of you that follow me, I'm going to touch on something quickly on a personal basis, and then we'll get to the news. And folks, it's a lot better than it's been. Yes, and one of the reasons I was strangely quiet all day yesterday, and those of you that follow me on Facebook or on the Chillie Cruises Facebook page are already aware of this. I've talked directly to a couple of you since then, but yesterday morning, about maybe a little bit later than this, but yesterday morning early, we thought Brat the cat had a heart attack. He's 24 years old, and it wouldn't have been totally surprising if it wasn't. We, of course, rushed him to the vet. They started doing some testing, and we're very careful of doing not in any kind of invasive stuff at his age, but still they did some blood work and to see where things were. And quite frankly, I thought it was probably the end for my buddy. As it turned out, he did not have a heart attack. It's a potassium deficiency. It happens real often in cats this old, and it affects their muscles. And when he screamed with what we thought was the heart attack, it was probably some kind of cramp, and it was just hurting. So this is something that's treatable. He was on IV fluids all day yesterday with medication. He's still pretty much out of things. I got up about 3:30 and started checking on updates and so forth, and fed him. He ate about half his food, which is good. That's not normal for him. He normally eats everything and wants more. But he ate a little bit this morning. He ate a little bit last night, but he's still pretty much lethargic and out of things, which he might perk up during the day today. But anyway, the vet was very pleased with how things went yesterday. So this is treatable. He'll be around a little while longer. 24 years old, that's old for a cat. But anyway, so I don't know if Brat the cat will get up and make his way in here. He's actually laying pretty much in a bed, which is unusual for him. So that is, and then of course yesterday was my day of packing and loading everything for the ball game this weekend for my little funnel cake lemonade concessions business. And the trailer had to be over at Liberty in place for all the security protocols at noon yesterday for the game which is tonight. It's Liberty University's playing Syracuse. It's the home opener. They're counting on a huge crowd, and I'm counting on a huge day. It's going to be about 90 degrees. We're going to sell a ton of lemonade, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 250 to 300 gallons of fresh squeezed lemonade. So I've been squeezing lemons all week. And with it that hot, we'll probably sell 4 funnel cakes. But that's okay. It's going to be a huge night anyway. So I had to pack and load and all that with the Brat the cat. It was just a terrible day. It was a nut day yesterday. Okay, let's get to the news. As of 5 o'clock this morning, Hurricane Dorian has taken a couple ticks to the north. The first tick to the north came during the night, very slight, but then there was another tick to the north for the 5 a.m. update, And the 5 a.m. update has just thrown everything we've heard for the last 3 days out the window. We were looking at, before 5 o'clock this morning, we were looking at a possible landfall somewhere around Port Lucie, Florida, and immediately taking a right-hand turn to the north and heading toward Orlando. With this second tick to the north, a whole bunch has now changed, folks. First of all, we're still dealing with a major storm. It's a Category 4, 140-mile-an-hour winds. That hasn't changed. Possibly going to strengthen to about 150 miles an hour in the next couple hours as it heads toward the Bahamas. It's still moving fairly slowly, and that's going to continue. And folks, even though things are looking up for Florida, as now we're looking at the possibility of it not having landfall in Florida, of it skirting up the East Coast and heading up for possible landfall in South Carolina, North Carolina, even bringing me into a play here in Virginia, although I'm inland somewhat. But things, at least for Florida, especially South Florida, are looking a lot better. Let's look at the Bahamas first. Still going to start picking up in the Bahamas sometime tomorrow night, as far as the winds go and the rain. There'll be some outer bands, of course, that are going to bring rain today. But as of before 5 o'clock this morning, we were looking pretty much at a direct hit on Grand Bahama Islands, Freeport, basically. And a just possible devastating storm for that area. Now there's a possibility that this thing could skirt Grand Bahama Islands as far as the direct hit goes and go to the north and miss it, which is certainly going to lessen the impact. Is it going to put you out of the woods in Freeport and Grand Bahama Islands? No. You're still going to have lots of wind, a ton of rain, foot or more of rain. But a hell of a lot better than a direct hit. So, and then there's a possibility, folks, of it even taking another tick to the north than the next update, which makes even more improvement. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is not written in stone. We just as easily could have a couple ticks to the south the next couple updates and throw everything back in play again. But at least things are looking better for the Bahamas. Now let's get to Florida. If you live in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, maybe even up as far as West Palm Beach, that area, Bonnie, maybe where you are, the chances of it now being a direct hit on you are way lessened. The further it goes north, the less implications you're going to have for your area. Now, again, you're still going to have a ton of rain. You're going to have a ton of wind, but maybe not quite as much as we thought if you were hit directly with a Category 4, maybe possibly a Category 5, because it still has conditions that could strengthen further to the day today and tomorrow. So South Florida is definitely looking more encouraging this morning. That stupid cone thing, I hate the way that they do this, but it's still a possibility of landfall in Central Florida. This thing's still got a mind of its own. The high pressure, low pressure circulating, all that crap. This storm's going to go where the storm wants to go. But it's looking better. Now, keep in mind, folks, this thing does another turn to the north and just completely misses Florida altogether as far as landfall, which I'm now thinking is a high possibility. You're still going to have a ton of rain. You folks could have a foot of rain or more because it's still going to be slow. It's going to pour rain in there. You're still going to have a lot of wind, but maybe not have 140, 150 mile an hour wind. Then you can still have 90 to 100 mile an hour wind, and that's bad enough. But at least things are looking encouraging today. Now, I promise you, folks, and I'm not going to promise it's going to be today because you guys know I got this stupid ball game tonight, and I'm going to be over there from afternoon on. But we'll probably be back on the air in the morning with updates and changes from overnight tonight and through the day today. But things are looking up, and they've been pretty bleak here recently. Going along with that same thought, as far as being positive, you know, this thing when it came through the Virgin Islands, British and U.S. Virgin Islands a couple of days ago, I mean, the films were awful. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, goodness, St. Thomas, St. Croix, those cruise ports are going to be done for a while. Well, U.S. Virgin Islands have reopened following the passing of Hurricane Dorian. The islands of St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix are all bidding a warm welcome to guests who are arriving after the passing of the storm. Shocking to me. I especially St. Thomas, I thought, oh, they're done for a couple months again, like they were with Maria. San Juan is open. Now, I'm not that surprised about San Juan because they got lucky. Everything went north of them. They had some rain and some wind and some minor damage, yes, but not as it could have been had it come directly into Puerto Rico. So the two cruise ships that sail out of San Juan are sailing on schedule on tomorrow. The Carnival Fascination and Freedom of the Seas, they're both going off as scheduled. Terrific news for that part of the cruise industry. Now, getting back to Florida, cruises that were scheduled out of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I don't know about Port Canaveral. I couldn't get any information on that this morning, but today's cruises are going as expected. I have not heard anything on cruises that were scheduled to leave tomorrow. I'm assuming tomorrow, even though could be conditions starting to deteriorate as far as winds and so forth, but they still have weather that they probably can safely get folks in and out tomorrow. By Monday is a different story. Again, depending on what the ship does, what the storm does. A little sip of coffee. This is a 3-cup of coffee day, folks. That's unusual for me. It's normally 2 cups, and today's a cup 3 day. So we don't know what the cruise lines are going to do on Monday yet, and of course Tuesday. Things again could be pretty bleak down there. The airports in Daytona is closing Monday night, and Orlando is Monday. I think I heard that right. They're closing. Maybe it's Sunday night. Anyway, airports are going to be shut down up there before the storm gets there, which is not surprising. Of course, keep in mind that's going to affect people coming and going for cruises out of Port Canaveral, the Orlando airport. So if you're on any of those, and I'm sure you've been getting information from the sorry about my throat, folks. You're getting information from the cruise lines and the airlines and everything else. Just pay attention. These situations, we make the best of it and go on. Where else? All right, that pretty much wraps up the storm stuff. Looking better. I'm thrilled to death with that. There have been a couple other things going on that the news hasn't touched on. Anybody know that there's a 6.3 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Oregon? Yeah, I missed out on that. It was actually Friday, I think it is, south of Portland. It was detected at least south of Portland. It was actually off the coast, underwater. They did not issue tsunami warnings or anything, so it wasn't a major story, other than the fact that it was a 6.3 magnitude earthquake, and nobody knows about it. So that happened. Let's see, what else do we have here this morning? Of course, all the Hurricane Dorian stuff got thrown out the window. Oh, the MSC Grandiosa, the new flagship for MSC Cruises, is under sea trials now. That's going to be a new ship sails in November. But it's undergoing its sea trials off the coast of France in the Bay of Biscay. So that's one of the new ships coming out. That's some good news. And one of our viewers asked me a question. I thought I'd take a minute on that this morning. One of our viewers asked me if I'd ever been on a Carnival cruise. She is going on a 6-day cruise to Hawaii, which I responded back to her directly. But in case there's some other you folks out there that have questions like that, I have been a Carnival guy forever. My first cruise was, I'm not even sure the year, 78, maybe 79, 80. I don't know, somewhere back in, it was a lifetime ago. And I went on a Carnival cruise. 90% of my cruises over the years have been on Carnival. I mean, that started out when I was young enough that I was interested in partying, and Carnival was a good party line. I liked Carnival. I've always liked Carnival. I still like Carnival. I'm trying to expand my horizons now and become familiar and go on some of the other cruise lines, just because with this space, I need to know more than just Carnival stuff. So I'm trying to expand on that. But Brenda, as far as your question goes, if you've not been on Carnival, I love Carnival. It might not be the absolute best food you can find on a cruise ship. It might not be the absolute best of this or that, but overall, they're great cruises and they're fun. They're fun ships. Always have been and always will be. They've got great programs for kids. If you're in a situation where you're traveling with a family, Carnival does. I mean, it might not be the best for family stuff, but it's good. So I just, all in all, I like Carnival. I've always liked Carnival, and I'll fuss at them, especially with their environmental issues that they've had. Because again, I'm not an employee of any of the cruise lines, but it's just a situation where, yeah, you'll be happy. You'll enjoy the cruise. Don't worry about that. It's going to be a crazy weekend for me with the ball game tonight. So I will be back on the air tomorrow, I'm sure. But at least some encouraging news this morning. All right, let's check the chat. Oh, by the way, I will touch on one other thing. Some of you may have noticed now that after all these months, YouTube has finally decided to accept me into their fold as far as being able to monetize my channel. I was originally back in the day when I had like 200 subscribers. I was monetized back then originally in their program, and then when they changed their policies to that you had to have 1,000 people, 1,000 subscribers, and so many watch hours and stuff, I didn't meet the criteria and got kicked out, even though I was very successfully in their advertising program for several years. At the time, a little guy like me, I was making enough money from YouTube to basically pay my costs of operating the channel and operating the back end technical support of stuff, which has a cost to it. My website, and it's got a cost. So they finally, they kept denying me after I got big enough to meet their criteria and enough views and so forth. And they kept denying me. No real reason why, they just denied it. Well, they finally accepted me into the fold. So you're probably going to see the advertising stuff that you see with Bruce and Emma and all the other folks on their videos. And so, you know, I apologize for that, but hey, you know, it costs money to do the stuff we do. And so if I can recoup some of that money through a little advertising on the thing, I'll welcome it. All right, we got a whole bunch of people. Christy, good morning, and good morning to Brat, she says. Yeah, Brat's cat is, I was guessing they're still asleep. I have not heard a word from him. Let's see, Bonnie points out again, Bahamas Paradise Cruises set sail, but they have canceled the 1st and the 3rd, if I remember correctly. They sell out at West Palm. Things are definitely looking better for you guys down in Florida, folks. I'm just so tickled for that. And you guys in the Bahamas too. I mean, Bahamas is still gonna be nasty. Don't get me wrong, boy. Freeport's gonna be nasty tomorrow night and Monday. It's gonna be awful. But it's not gonna be a direct hit now, I don't think. Unless things change again, which they could. But anyway, it seems to me it's going in the right direction for at least all of you guys in Florida. I could see the possibility now of this thing just not hitting landfall in Florida at all. Which, like I say, an hour ago, that wasn't going to happen. All right, that about wraps it up to today. I've talked about all I can talk. So we'll be back on the air, I'm sure, tomorrow morning with any changes and updates and so forth. So we'll plan on that. And as always, if something major comes up, I'll get a video up on that. Those of you that know, I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you'd like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, my interview shows, which are called Chillie Chats, and of course, travel and cruise industry news, which is normally on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings about this time, 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But tomorrow will be on because of the situation. And I apologize for yesterday not being on because of Brat the Cat. So we're glad Brat the Cat is still with us, even though he's in there sleeping instead of being in here being obnoxious. Maybe by tomorrow, Brat the Cat will be back to being his obnoxious self. Just keep in mind, folks, he's a crotchety old man just like me. That's it for today. This is Chillie with Chillie's Cruises. Later, y'all.